Right, and with us right now, we've got Jason Anderson. Jason, you're the founder and CEO of Video Buddy on the web at videobuddy.net. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So Jason, we're going to start out by getting this out of the way. Why does everybody need to be using video? I'm going to throw you the world's biggest softball because the numbers are just, the debate is over, as Al Gore would say.
Yeah, it is totally over. Well, here's the thing. If you're on social media at all, you know just from observation that video is what's getting attention. It's getting the comments and likes and shares. It's what gets people to know, like, and trust you, right? And that's such a cliche. I hate to even say that at the beginning of a podcast like this, but really that's what it's all about. So video is not the end all be all, but I will tell you this, that video, the way that people are sharing video nowadays, especially small businesses, is how they're attracting their clients. And it's not with promotional videos. It's literally with social videos, with videos that kind of explains what your company does, who you are as a person, that type of stuff. And so I started off in the animated video space back in 2010, right? And then I made a shift in 2016 towards video editing. So we were doing compositing, and I moved everything over to my Video Buddy editing service because I see people like, obviously, most people know the name Gary Vaynerchuk, most people know the name Grant Cardone. These are like huge people that are spending an extraordinary amount of time publishing content. And so I use those examples because people see that. And so what we try to do is we help people who have a lot to say and they know how to turn on a camera. Just like I've just got a very cheap Logitech webcam that we're recording this from right now, and a very cheap, microphone. Most people have access to, I've got my phone here. With that, I've got everything I need to record. And if I had a Video Buddy that can just take my recordings and turn them into multiple pieces of content, then that's that's the whole idea behind the name Video Buddy.
I cannot stress this enough to my fellow business owners and marketers. And I'll just give you a case example. So on this podcast, The Thoughtful Entrepreneur, we've been able to easily double to triple our listenership since we started using video to promote. Now, granted, we have a pretty decent sized social media audience to work with, but we count on those people to become our podcast listeners. Mm-hmm. When we tried just doing standard text posts, and here's a link to iTunes, you can go and listen to it, Apple Podcasts, you can go and listen to it. I'd say that was kind of phase one, not very effective at all. If people are scrolling through social media, asking them, like, it's good to keep it top of mind, but generally they're not going to stop what they're doing and listen to it. They might remember it for later, but that's about the best you can hope for. Maybe they might click play and listen to like 10 seconds of it. Now, the next, I'd say, evolution of that would be using these apps like Headliner and some of these other ones where now you've got the cover art, you've got a waveform audiogram that's kind of moving. And so you can see, okay, there's some animation going on here. What are they talking about? Mm-hmm. And what I found is that about 40% of people scrolling through social media will not listen to the audio. Like, they keep the audio off. I mean, it has to be really good for them to click the audio and listen in. And waveforms, we found, like, it's better, but it's not as good as what we do today. And what we do today, and this was a game changer for us, and this made all the difference, is that we started taking, and why all my podcast interviews now, we do video. And I won't take a podcast interview unless someone agrees to get on video, and we record it on Zoom. And then I've got my team, and Jason, we need to talk because it might make sense to work with Video Buddy. We need to take a look at our effectiveness and that sort of thing. But what we do right now, and this is what everybody needs to do, is they need a team. They need themselves a Video Buddy who can take all that video of all those podcast interviews that they're doing and repurpose that. And They create, what we do now is we make 30 to 60 second video snippets, and we put that over all of our social media. And the engagement, Jason, on those videos, it's off the charts. Like even like the number, like we even looked at like what Facebook will share. Like when we were just doing like, hey, here's our new podcast episode, blah, blah, blah. Like Facebook would show it to like 4 people. And now when it's a video snippet, it's getting like 30 to 40 like organic views, which, you know, in Facebook world, you know, with a small Facebook, we don't really invest much in Facebook, but it's interesting. The social media platforms themselves want to share short video content much more so than your boring old static posts that no one's looking at.
Well, you've got that right. And what we do pretty much what you do, right? You have your team. So we may or may not be something for you. And the thing is everybody, you know, I don't really want to promote my service specifically. What I want to promote is the fact that businesses need to have video out there. And I think that the businesses confuse what type of video that needs to get out there. And the first thing that most people think about is I need to have a promotional video. I need to have about me video. I need to talk about our service. I need to sell stuff, right? The stuff that's working, I don't know. Let me ask you this: the stuff that's working for you that you're having your team pump out, it's usually it's the podcast stuff that you're recording right now.
Right.
That you're finding the mic drop moments. I'm assuming you're finding the mic drop moments that has like this is like a very nice piece of a nugget that my audience or that an audience would like to entice them to maybe listen to the entire podcast, which is going to entice them to subscribe, which is going to entice them to be on your radar more often. So it's kind of a long-term play. Is that how you guys are actually using the videos?
Speaking of, I like how you call that mic drop moments in there. Here's a couple of things that, you know, like shortcuts. And I'd really love your feedback on this because first off, Jason, I mean, I love what you're doing, and we're going to get to like how you do your pricing and how you do your money back guarantee, which is extremely bold. And I think is outside the norm for most people in your space. And I want to talk about that, but here's what we do in terms of mic drop moments. Usually your best stuff is going to come at the end of a guest answer. And so what I usually do is I say, hey, you're watching the video. Zoom's automatically going to bounce back and forth between the guest and the host. And so look for where I come back in and then listen to what the guest just said in that last 30 seconds. If it sounds impactful, there we go. That's great. Another thing I'll have them look for is, all right, if I'm going on and on and on for like 2 minutes or more, I might be making a good point. That might also be something that we want to share. So I usually always want to find one or two great segments from the guest, and then maybe one from me. If sometimes I got to learn to be quiet in these podcasts, but that's what I look for. Is there any hacks that you use with your team, and like, how do you find those mic drop moments?
There's no hack there. You just have there's literally, you have to understand the content. So what we normally do is, like, and any editor should be doing, is they understand the content that they're working with.
Yeah.
You know, obviously transcripts help. You know, if we have a transcript of, you know, like say a 30-minute podcast, then but the thing is a lot of times that's not financially, you know, feasible to have, especially if you're using a service like Rev or something like that, which is actually very cheap at $1 a minute. Or if you're having them automatically transcribed. The problem with automatic transcriptions is that they don't always they're not readable, right?
We use Otter.ai. It's like $20 a month. It's machine. You know.
It can help. It's certainly helpful. Most of the work that we work with, though, it's not, because let's face it, a business owner is not going to, they when they hire somebody to do some work for them, they expect them to be an expert. They expect them to know what they're looking for. So if there's a 45-minute podcast interview, where we're trying to find what we call snackables, right? We try to find a snackable. Like if there's a 45-minute podcast, I'm going to try to find 10 to 15 mic drop moments for approval or rejection. And the only way to do that is to listen to the interview and find those. Now, the art in this is that a lot of times stories are not linear in podcasts. You might have something in the first 10 minutes that you need to cut out and add it to the end or the beginning of a snippet that you find 30 minutes later. And so that's the true art of video editing, is also video storytelling.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I like what you're doing, you know, with coming up with these snackables, or anybody who does this, is that it frees the business owner from thinking about what they are preparing too much for content presentation. Because, like, or say for example, people get a little some anxiety about what do I make my videos about, and they make bullet points, they practice it, they get on camera and they freeze. Well, if they just, if they're able to if you have the right editor that's able to say, listen, don't worry about how you look and sound on camera. Your biggest thing is to get your expertise out there, or your knowledge about what it is that you can share so that you can actually attract this audience. If you have a competent video editor or a team that, and it does sometimes does take a team, because it really is a unicorn of a video editor who's basically a copywriter who understands what good copy is, can puzzle this stuff together, then can also do motion graphics along with creating some good graphic design, understands color, understands all these things, and can give you a finished product from maybe a 30-minute recording. That is a unicorn that can do that, which is why we have a team, because I have, there's, when we're working, we have, one person that's really working on the motion graphics, one person is really good at finding stories, and that's what they really like, right? So, we work as a team rather than like having just, one video person. We have, several people working on each one of our clients' projects simultaneously. And one of the processes is, there is no shortcut to knowing what the content is. Even if, say, for example, like if we're doing a podcast right here, this is not a scripted podcast. I don't know what I'm going to say in 5 minutes from now. I don't know. And it might be gold, or it might just be kind of average or something. But here's the thing. If you do enough content, you record enough content, and you're going through enough material, then you're going to find some gold, and you're going to have enough material to produce to the social channels from there. If you just do it enough.
So Jason, you offer flat rate, unlimited video editing for $1,200 to $1,500 monthly currently. What's the catch?
The catch is that it's not full-time, right? We're working 8 hours a day specifically on your stuff only. That would be, you would need to hire an employee to do that. And at $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year. I don't know of any employee you're going to be able to hire. So that's, our target market is the small businesses and the entrepreneurs that understand that they need to have a team. And but they need to have somebody who's working on their stuff consistently. And so when I say unlimited video editing, which it means that every single day we're going to work on your stuff for one video editing session, and that usually lasts anywhere. Think about if an editing session is when somebody sits down at a desk, focuses on your work exclusively without any breaks, and just works on that project, which is generally, on average, we guarantee a minimum of 1 hour a day. But if you've done any kind of video editing, you know that sometimes 1 hour doesn't yield anything, right? Because there's problems sometimes. It's technical. But on average, we're spending about 1 hour and 45 minutes per client per day on their progressive stuff. So for example, like this right here, if I were to give this to my video editors, a 15-minute podcast, they would probably come up with 3 or 4 snackables for approval that same day. And then after I approve them, then we would get them, we would then do the styling, the motion graphics, the graphic design, and adding the captions and all that stuff the next day. So it's about a 2-day process, even though that only took maybe about 3 hours to accomplish.
So Jason, I'm on videobuddy.net right now, and one thing that I'm really impressed with is that it says you'll have a full 14 days to see if you like working with us, see if we're any good, make us prove our worth. If you're not happy for any reason, and that's in bold, or for no reason, we'll refund your money. You can keep any work we produced for you. We assume all the risk of trying us out. That takes a little courage to be able to do that.
We have to, though.
I mean,
here's the reason. Yeah,
tell me about why you do that.
Now, I can't do that when I hire employees. Now, I hire employees internally, and sometimes they don't work out. We do training. They're 3 weeks. Maybe they're super slow. They sound good on resume or on the interview and stuff, right? But then when it comes to producing results, they're not doing great. So one of the nice things about about us is that you don't have to worry about like the hype in the resume and saying, well, this sounds great, and then finding out that you just spent some money to find out that it just didn't work out. And so we have to do that because we're not willing to do pro bono work to see if, like say somebody says, here's a sample project, what can you do? I wouldn't be able to do that. It just wouldn't, for one thing, it just wouldn't work, right? So the only way to make that happen, and it is bold because, editing is there is a very broad thing, editing, there's stages, and there's also some collaboration that's involved. So we might show you a very ugly, rough draft, just to make sure that we're going in the right direction. right? So we don't spend 2 or 3 days going in the wrong direction. That's to save your time and our time.
Yeah.
But if we have to do this, because that, honestly, that's the biggest stopping thing. Somebody, even at $18,000 a year, businesses are going to be like, look, there's no risk. Let's see if we like working with them, their process or not. If we don't, then then we're not going to use them, and we're not going to have any money invested into it. I have had one person take us up on the offer out of all the clients we've had. I was very shocked. It was just actually very recently. And that was mainly, I think, it was probably more, I don't know really how this happened, because it was really strange. We've never had this happen. And I think that it was money issues with that particular business.
I'm thinking, as an advocate for other business owners that really should go ahead and offer a bold money back guarantee. I think that a lot of fear, especially where you're investing your employees or your team's time, it's like, listen, it's
a hard cost.
It's not like you're just accessing my e-course for 30 days. Those are easy to do refunds on, risk reversal on. It's I just spent, $300-400, on my team's time to do that work. And you're afraid that someone's going to abuse that. My salary
comes every 2 weeks. My salary comes every 2 weeks, whether I get, retainers or not. Right. So You're right. It's not like it's an e-course or something that we're reselling or a software service that's not this is literally
there's hard costs.
We work for 2 weeks for you. That's, we could probably have a good, 15 hours wrapped up into work. Now, hopefully after 15 hours, we will have some collaboration back and forth to know that, hey, this is nice or it's not. And so, I don't know of many freelancers that will do that, right? That will offer, I'll work for you for free, or I'll work for you with a guarantee that if you don't like working with me, then you pay me nothing and keep everything I gave you. However, if they didn't like working with you, why would you want to keep the stuff?
Yeah.
But
and where, I think about it, where we've had clients where it's for some reason, it just hasn't worked out. Usually it's because they don't give us their stuff in time. Like there's usually, it's the errors that usually the problem's always on their end. But where it hasn't worked out, we end up giving them a refund anyway. Like if we weren't able to do the work for some reason or whatever, I don't have a problem with that. So I may as well just make that part of the risk reversal in the front end. And I would imagine that really is helpful for your conversion rate.
I'm not sure, because I've never offered it without it. So I don't know if it's, if it's been a bump, but I just knew instinctively that, hey, if I were a business owner, what would I be looking for? Because I have purchased services like this before, and that I'm like, I'm not really happy with it. And then you spend the month, right? And then you just kind of write it off. But, if a business does offer that kind of money back guarantee, and that means that they're willing to, they don't want to give it back. So they're going to adjust, at least we do, we're going to listen to you. Hey, what do you like or not like about our process? Yeah. And so if it's something that we can't make an adjustment to, say that's kind of out of scope, or that's really something that we can't do, maybe the service isn't, sometimes people are looking for full-time employees, or they need more work. Now, to bring that up, though, we actually have clients that have more than one seat with us, which has been very interesting. We didn't do this on purpose, but we have, I've got a partner I call him a partner because we do a lot of his agency stuff for him. He sells his services almost, through us. He has a video, like a virtual, he helps them, a virtual producer is what he is. He works with them on what they need to do. And then he uses our team to create these snackables that we talked about before. And he has 3 seats because he wants us to be working on 2 or 3 consecutive projects per day. So I've got 3 different editors working on 3 different projects for him every single day in a progressive way.
Excellent. Well, Jason Anderson, you are the founder and CEO of Video Buddy, and that's found on the web at videobuddy.net. Unlimited video editing for $1,200 to $1,500. If you don't like it and you don't like Jason for some reason, Jason has the courage to stand behind his product with a money back guarantee, which is something I've actually been. I think I'm going to take your lead and just offer the right up front, say, listen, for any reason you don't like what we do, you can have your money back. We want to work with clients that love the relationship, and, you know, no sense in, you know, holding someone's money hostage if they had a bad experience. So I really appreciate the conversation, Jason. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Josh, I appreciate it.